My name is Bertil Dortch. I'm from the University Library of Southern Denmark in Denmark. And on behalf of the IFLA Academic and Research Library Section Standing Committee, I'd like to welcome you all to this series of webinars. Our session today is the call to action, academic libraries' responses to the SDGs. And of course, this is related to the United Nations 2030 agenda that outlines a plan for achieving a better and more sustainable future for all on this world of ours. So libraries can probably meet several of the SDG goals and in several ways. For instance, through the promotion of universal literacy, provision of access to information, advanced digital inclusion, preservation, and provision of access to the world's cultural heritage, and so on and so on. But today we explore the assertion that sustainable development needs to have a stronger place in academic librarianship, and that the SDGs provide an excellent framework for librarians to think about their collections, services, and spaces on those terms. So we have two presenters today who are going to enlighten us. And one of them, the first one, is Roxanne Missingham from the Australian National University. Roxanne is a University Librarian, Chief Scholarly Information Officer at the Australian National University, where she is responsible for many things, I presume, but from one of them is setting the strategic vision for the university's scholar information resources and services, which include the libraries, collections and services, digital collections, and so on. Roxanne was also previously a Commonwealth parliamentary librarian and is a passionate advocate for library collaboration for delivering access for Australians to qualities and resources and many other things. After Roxanne, who will have the word in a few seconds, we have Najme Shakhai, who is the head of library at the University Library of Southern Denmark in Sønderborg, near the German border. And she is in charge of internationalization and a member of a sustainable committee at the library. Najme holds a PhD in business management and has a background as a researcher in change management and been working in other places of the world as well besides Denmark. And is very active in LIBER. So this is the presentation. If you want to introduce yourself supplementary way, then please feel free to do that. But I'll give the word to Roxanne first, but also telling everybody that towards the end, we'll have questions from the presentations at the end through the Q&A option in Zoom. And Kayla will also help us with that, I think, and sum up towards the end of the presentations. So I'll leave it the floor over to you, Roxanne.
Thank you so much. So I'll just open my PowerPoint and I will start by saying a big thank you to the IFLA ARL committee for their absolute passion that they have brought to supporting research librarians over the last couple of years through COVID. I think the program that has been developed online has been a magnificent knowledge sharing initiative, and congratulations to everyone for all the work they've been doing. So I'm going to present on Australian university libraries and the UN SDGs and talk about a mission for change, both change in what we deliver, but most importantly, change in the language and the way we talk about our services so that our institutions can recognise our values in new and different ways. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous people on whose lands and airways we meet today. I'm on the lands of the Ngunnawal Ngambri people, and so I say Yumadarawa Ngunnawal to you all, and pay my respects to Indigenous elders past, present and emerging. So Australian universities. Australia is, we often talk about ourselves as a young land, but one where universities are absolutely vital to the transformation that has been happening across the nation over the last decades in particular. We educate around 1.5 million students, employ about 128,000 full-time equivalent staff, and contribute billions of dollars to the nation's economy. Last week, the Commonwealth budget allocated an additional 20,000 student places in universities through their budget, and the research hub that is universities is recognised as being a major contributor to the national economy, which sets a really important role for libraries as part of that vitalisation. So our universities and our university libraries are spread across the nation, and many universities also have campuses and libraries around the world. The SDGs have been a very important issue for debate in Australian libraries and in the Australian Research Library Group. We really looked at how these goals can build upon the Millennial Development Goals and how we can think about a theory of change and value in our services that will enable us to express the great work that is being done and align it to societal, cultural, economic transformation that demonstrates that libraries are the powerhouse of the emerging economy. And I think with the commitment to additional student places, we're starting to see some traction in terms of that transformation role of both research centres in the economy and libraries within research institutions. So I wanted to go back a little bit to our roots, in a sense, in libraries. I really love this quote from John F. Kennedy about raising everyone, which I think is very much at the heart of the philosophy of the Sustainable Development Goals, and in a sense, at the heart of libraries, when we go back to Ranganathan's rules about every reader their book, that we wish to serve all and we wish to improve the whole of our community, the whole of the nation. So there is a really deep philosophical link here between libraries and the SDGs at a principle level. So I want to start by talking about three different themes. Libraries working together and using the opportunity of the Sustainable Development Goals to achieve that, how libraries are aligning to national and local objectives, and an extraordinary maturity that we're seeing in the Sustainable Development Goal framework and tools that can really position libraries differently within research centres, universities, research institutions. So first, working together. There is a lot that's been written around the theory and practice of translating Sustainable Development Goals into actions that sit within frameworks around economic, social, and management systems. I think this concept of really aligns very well with libraries, because we do see ourselves as offering a lot more than single transactional interactions with our clients, albeit that we want to do that very well. And we have been, particularly over the last 25 years, embedding ourselves in the educational programs that are happening, particularly through information literacy, digital literacy, academic skills. We've been embedding our programs in recording the voices of our nations in our collections, particularly of Indigenous peoples, and making that visible in sensitive and appropriate ways, of providing specialist support to our community to assist research, whether it's through research data systems, whether it's through repositories, whether it's through training and things like copyright. So we've actually been working at this multiplicity of levels already, and the Sustainable Development Goals really let us bring those transformative powers across many different aspects of benefits together in one framework. In Australia, all the library sectors have been working together on the Sustainable Development Goals to develop stretch targets for every sector in the community. The Australian Library and Information Association has led this, and it's been a very powerful tool to bring us together to think about how state libraries, research libraries, public libraries, school libraries, special libraries can all make a contribution which is visible, and that we can together as a community think about how we put that together as a national platform for the nation, and to talk about that to national government, which has been a very important part of the process. In terms of the goals and sitting that within the national framework, in Australia, the Sustainable Development Program sits within the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and has had a real focus on regional growth and economic growth. So when we have talked about translating that and working with the department to be part of their reporting to government, and it is a great privilege really for libraries, including research libraries, to be visible in reports that go to the whole of the Parliament, we've really focused on how we are supporting particular parts of the equity agenda within the SDGs. And so that's led us to focus on 4 particular goals. In terms of the bringing together all of the sectors, there are some real changes that have been made more visible. The adoption of the Declaration of Human Rights by ARLA, the reports that the Council of Australian Universities has put out with case studies about what we've been achieving, and the 2 reports from ARLA have really set a framework that has enabled us as libraries within the community to have a very solid discussion on this. And I don't think we would have had as many programmatic developments unless we'd had that. So what do we do when we're on unlocking that as a strategic approach for Australia? For university libraries, we've really tried to look at what it is that is distinctive in the contribution that we make to national higher education from the SDG lens. This has been a challenge because while we've got national goals, particularly around regional contribution and about equity, there is not a reference to the SDGs within the national higher education policy framework. We have different strategic goals within our universities. Generally speaking, the education contribution has been an area of great focus for the last couple of years through COVID because of a lot of research just had to pause. Some research institutes, such as the Monash SDG initiative, have been created to provide fundamentally research and economic benefit through initiatives, and libraries have provided services to those, but it is the library service to the whole of the community, particularly meeting the education goal in the SDGs, that has been more noticeable. We are starting to see a range of policies and within universities, particularly within regional universities, where there is a sense that the institution is building the community and has a commitment to do that, as well as building education. In those cases, a lot of the libraries have really focused on what it is that is unique about building the community, particularly in increasing access to collections and being able to make those accessible in a way that means that the whole community can deepen their knowledge of particularly Indigenous groups, and also can deepen their knowledge to enable future students to be better prepared. Generally speaking, this is an area that hasn't yet received funding, but I think with the new government, we'll see some more. So I just wanted to highlight some of the work that we'd done that we've reported in the initial 2019 call report on SDGs. Really, the 4 aspects that were most outstanding in terms of libraries' contribution were in creating community access to information resources, particularly through open access, enabling students, potential students, to have pathways that support education. And we've got some brilliant examples where universities have reinvented their first year so that the library contribution in core courses is vital for their assessment so that they can transfer into second year. We have some great examples of communities working together, communities of libraries working together, so that there is a statewide approach, for example, in Tasmania, to resources so that everyone in the state can have access to resources. And there are some terrific initiatives that we've seen, particularly libraries developing information resources to help students, academics, and the community have access to health information. So we've been collecting statistics and hope to issue a further update that helps us bring the discussions to a national profile. CAUL itself, the Council of Australian University Libraries, which is the group that represents all universities, has been doing outstanding work. So in addition to the individual libraries achieving strategic goals, CAUL has been achieving strategic goals, and the most distinctive contribution that has been made, I think, in the last 12 months has been with the read and publish deals. So the purpose of those in making research that is written by those in Australian universities openly accessible to the community fulfills not just the education goal, but fulfills the building of industry knowledge, the building of community strengths, and is really the unique contribution that research libraries have been building. That value is something that we were committed to doing independently of the Sustainable Development Goals. But what the Sustainable Development Goals let us do is actually measure benefit in a new and different way. The use of the material that we make openly accessible is extraordinarily high. We're talking in the hundreds of millions of downloads per year. And I did want to acknowledge that in particular, the most downloaded resources from our repositories are theses. So this is deep and substantial research that has been undertaken with the funding of the Australian public, and we are giving back to the public through the increased availability of those, and that particularly builds the industry capabilities. So in terms of the national stretch targets for Australian libraries, when we workshopped the particular roles of different sectors, university libraries, and CAUL is used as the aggregate for Australian university libraries, were seen as having really critical roles in two places. First off, the adoption of open access practices that enable Australians to benefit from scientific knowledge. And the second one, which I haven't put on the screen, is about achieving greater equity through programs that enhance for Indigenous knowledge, access to knowledge about Indigenous Australians, and also increase Indigenous participation in education. So you can see here that in our national reporting mechanism, which will go to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the new program is called Read and Publish Agreement, and the reporting will be about that material which is openly accessible from the repositories that are in universities, which increasingly contain not just published works and theses, but now data, so that really transforms our role within communities and provides knowledge to all Australians and, in fact, to regional communities, because the work that is done about digitising Indigenous voices and historic material that is very important for Indigenous people is a distinctive trend in Australian university libraries. Now, I wanted to briefly talk about the maturity model. So the work that has been done by IFLA in contributing to the discussion and development about SDGs has been astounding, and really achieved a level of discussion, and governments all around the world have been responding with their own programmatic initiatives and reporting mechanisms. What we're starting to see now in terms of the maturity is industry starting to develop tools in addition to universities that recognise and report on the value of the contribution of research institutions against the Sustainable Development Goals. So I talked about university plans, individual university plans and responses, and how libraries can report against them to demonstrate their value. In terms of the the flavour of the month, and many people say, you know, it's an obsession, but the major rankings from the Times Higher Education and QS now include sustainability, which gives us an opportunity to be visible in a different way, assisting the reporting of our institutions in the ranking that will arguably have a benefit to the SDG goal, in particular around education, by attracting further students to our institutions. Those goals and the rankings are relatively new, are quite different methodologies. So for the QS sustainability measures, we saw some early adopters reporting into that, and we've seen a maturing of the methodology that is used. So the QS indicators, when they're looking at the reporting that on our research institutions, are measuring environmental sustainability, so sustainable education, sustainable research. So this is about the work that is done on sustainability, and also social impact measures, including equity, knowledge exchange, educational impact, employability opportunities, and quality of life. For libraries, the particular value that we contribute in making the courses that are run on sustainability successful, because we are providing them with resources, we are providing the students with digital literacy and information literacy skills, are significant and are not measured well in these QS metrics, but are something that CALL can put in a separate report to Universities Australia and through to the national reporting that will happen under the ARL coordinated program. But it does indicate what some of the measures are that industry is starting to think are most important around applying the SDGs. The second part, equity, knowledge exchange, educational impact, are where libraries are achieving great things. So the downloads that we have from our repository, the material that we make available through open access, so it is available to everyone wherever they are really making huge differences. And I think in a national report about what research libraries are doing, give us an opportunity to say this is important and it is recognised in the QS indicator, even though our particular work won't be measured within that because they're using bibliometrics about the amount of publication. But I think there's room for us to also talk to QS about having a library aspect in there. Times Higher Education also offer a metrics-based scoring within an SDG, within their sustainability index. They have 3 categories of metrics. They use Elsevier's data to query the research that has been undertaken on topics relating to the Sustainable Development Goals. They have continuous metrics that are about the number of graduates, for example, in health-related degrees. And they also, thirdly, measure policies and initiatives, for example, the existence of mentoring programs that are indicating the engagement of universities, research institutions in their communities, and also the existence, the interaction so that students can be mentored externally. There is nothing that is particularly relevant for libraries here, but again, I think it's an important issue for us to reflect on what we might suggest in terms of enhancements through our universities to mature this model. Both these rankings were very interesting in the sense that the early uptake was by a lot of smaller universities and regional universities that tended to have goals that were highly related to making their communities more sustainable and increasing equity in their local community. Now that these rankings are maturing, we're starting to see a very similar profile of the big and the more research-based universities being higher up the list than when it was in its early days. So I wanted to briefly suggest some things that we might have Q&As for, and I'm not going to be very long because I want to make sure we've got lots of time for discussions. So for individual libraries, we've seen great programs opening up access, connecting to sustainable cities and communities. For our associations like CALL and the Australian Library and Information Associations, we're really seeing leading programs in Australia on access and inclusion. And in fact, the reformation of library education through ALIA's Professional Pathways project. Through the LIS sector, we're seeing the opportunity for national reporting and engagement, and funding remains an area of challenge, and I feel that should be tattooed onto our library hearts about everything. So we've got strong individual programs opening up access in terms of best practice, but we really don't have a cohesive national approach to that, and discovery is very underdeveloped. For education, CALL is particularly leading great work, sharing learnings around literacy, increasing access through openly accessible resources. But we've got a low take-up of those unless it's in the curriculum. So I think there's some work for us to talk about value and about framing the programs that we are doing. In terms of research, there's significant work on research data for sustainability, and some of that sits in our repositories, and much is hidden within the researchers' desktops, really. There's a lack of a cohesive approach, but the Australian Research Data Commons is leading a project called Institutional Underpinnings, which is about getting better data governance and discovery. And librarians are very well represented in that, creating new policy documents, new standards. And I think that will be a significant best practice area for us. In terms of policy development, we really need to see how we can have ecosystems that will connect across the world. And I'd just like to acknowledge the excellent work that's being done by JSTOR and many publishers on open access. And we need to think about how that could be reformed, particularly as I've talked about Australia having, as a national policy, a great regional interest in wanting to reach the Pacific and Asia. So we've got some areas of good practice, some areas of gaps, and some evolving rankings that I think we need to have the voice of libraries there. So this is University House, the very building number 1 at the Australian National University. So I thought it's a nice reflective pool for us to think about reflecting on the world. And that is the end of my presentation. And I hope I've left enough time both for the next presentation and for lots of questions at the end. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Roxanne. So it's a very interesting talk. I get that rankings, as terrible as they might be, may actually help elevate sustainability to local agendas, and perhaps thereby also enable new opportunities for libraries within their higher education institutions. So maybe we'll talk a bit about that also in the Q&A. So before handing over the mic to Naishme, I'd like to remind participants to use the Q&A button at the very end of the screen. And some people already have done that, so that's really great. Thank you. Thank you again, Roxanne. Naishme, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will start sharing my screen. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Bertil, for the introduction, and thanks to IFLA ARL for the invitation to participate in this webinar. Well, Bertil and I are in the same organization or same library. And when he asked me to participate in this webinar on behalf of the ARL Standing Committee, I immediately said, yes, I would be delighted to do so. So thanks for giving me this opportunity. Let's move on to the presentation and my slides. Roxanne had a very inspirational talk about research libraries in Australia. And now here I'm going to share with you a story from Denmark, and specifically about our university and the library. I try to showcase how research libraries support sustainable developments, and the libraries are crucial for the achievement of the SDGs. So let's just now move on to the main part. As you can see in this map, in the left side, there is something about the university that I'm going to talk shortly about our university and what is happening according to the SDGs. And then I move on to our library. At the right side, you can see that and dig deep into our work and projects in the library. To give you an idea of the research libraries and overview of the universities in Denmark, there are currently 8 universities and of course, many educational institutions and university colleges. It's a small country and we cannot compare to the US, for example, but crucial in terms of development of the universities and of course, the role that the libraries play. University of Southern Denmark welcomed the first students onto the campus in Odense, which is headquartered in September 1966. And now we have 5 faculties with more than 30,000 students, almost 25% of them international, and more than 3,800 employees across our main campus in Odense and also 5 regional campuses that are located in southern part of Denmark. There are around 115 different study programs in the field of humanities, social science, natural science, health science, and engineering. Several international studies document that we conduct world-class research, and we are one of the top 50 young universities in the world, which is really good for us. So in this slide, I will give you a short introduction about what's happening at university according to the SDG. In June 2019, the Board of University decided to make the UN Sustainable Development Goals the focal point for further sustainable development at the university. Therefore, sustainability is today part of the university's research, innovation, education programs, as well as the day-to-day running of the university. I mean, administrative part. In September 2019, there was the first and biggest kickoff events where students, researchers, and administrative staff worked on several challenges related to the university works with SDG. Through describing these challenges, they came up with some solution proposal which are developed. There is an interest in sharing our knowledge across university, and it is done on the one hand through the individual work of researchers and what they are produce, publish, or create. On the other hand, knowledge is also shared through events, lectures, and other offerings at university. The university has also established SDG Hub, where the task is to support the work on sustainability at university, telling about our big and small efforts with sustainability, promoting dialogue on the work with sustainability across employees, students, companies, and citizens out of the university, and also being a sound for all employees and students at university who want to work with sustainability. About the gender equality, I do believe that lots of universities are following a strategic plan for gender equality and diversity nowadays. So at our university also, there is a strategic focus to support the university in regarding and reaching a diverse recruitment of all talents and an inclusive and innovative working environment. And beside of that also, they have established a climate cluster, which is a kind of interdisciplinary cluster at university and focusing on climate-related research. After establishing this climate cluster, also they have decided to establish or create the group of enthusiasts and talented with the name of the climate ambassador. Recently, education program launched among a group of enthusiasts who want to contribute to implement of the climate plan through local and concrete initiatives. During the course, the participants learned specifically about university's climate plan, also gained competencies in the organizing and facilitating of green transition projects. About the inner sustainability conferences or inner sustainability projects, also in the university, we are not only focused on SDG and technology part of that, but also focus on inner sustainability and strengths of people mental capacity, which is also crucial. And the end also that I can mention is about the science year 2022. The year 2022 marks 100 years since Niels Bohr received the Denmark's first Nobel Prize in Physics. Also, this year has been named the International Year of Basic Science and Development by the UN. Therefore, it was a really excellent opportunity to focus on science and research. And scientists from the university have a great contribution with lots of lectures, talks, festivals, podcasts around Denmark to build the general education by bringing science at the eye level with the citizens. So now we move to the library. First, a brief introduction about the library. And the University Library of Southern Denmark is the second largest research library in Denmark. It has become a large, comprehensive university library with strengths in professional and technical disciplines located in 6 campuses with about 110 staff, and places itself strategically to focus on sustainability and transformative partnership with the university and the university strategy. The library is a member of the Association of Research Libraries nationally and internationally, and highly dedicated to innovation and digital initiatives, also providing access to more than 3 million digital and print volumes, journals, and multimedia materials to meet the knowledge demands of scholars, students, and members of the public, because the library is a kind of public library as well. So the library has prime central location in all 6 campuses with more than 2,000 study or reading seats, and it's a vibrant place that overflow with the library users throughout the day and night as a 24/7 study area for users. Last year, we set out our new strategies with focus more on innovation and sustainability. As the innovative research library, we focus on the support of research collaboration with the innovative research communication and the knowledge dissemination. As the user-centered education library, there is a focus on the development of the services that supports students and teachers in all campuses. As a digital library, also we focus on digitization and supporting systems, and also we focus on sustainability and transformative partnership with the university's strategic partners. After the university has decided to work with SDG, the library also has established its own sustainability committee, which the main mission is to educate, develop awareness, and to promote an internal culture that integrate the sustainability into daily habits of the library community. The Library Sustainability Committee is in charge for developing and recommending comprehensive strategic practices that promote sustainability, educate the library community using various communication channels about sustainability topics, and also collaborates nationally and internationally with various groups on all campuses and also externally to share information and best practices related to sustainability. In this slide, I will give you a short introduction about our research communication, sustainable research communication. Our colleagues and member of the Sustainability Committee came up with lots of initiatives and projects which are linked to the library strategy. And one of them is their sustainable research communication. The library is playing a key role in the changing environment of research and education across university. Having the proper background, structure, infrastructure, and skills, library have across university, library had the main role in the implementation of and promotion of the different aspects of open science. The library advocates within institution to develop open access policies and roadmaps. And we have a really good role in this playing and open access policies, making open access policies. We have expertise to support researchers and citizens as well with the organizing, managing, and curation of research data. The library offers also courses and guidance on responsible conduct of research and research ethics. And moreover, our colleagues at Pure Office are helping researchers to register their publication open access to the university repository. The Center for Special Collection and Digital Humanities also brings together the library's work in preserving, digitizing, and disseminating the special collection. Its mission is to become a gathering point for the work with digital humanities at the university in all campuses. We work with the digitalization of various types of material and make them available to the public, and at the same time, we work to develop offers for researchers and students. And I will talk shortly later about the citizen science, and I hope I can have time a little bit more. 5 minutes. All right, thank you, Bertil. I try to finish that. As I mentioned, colleagues coming with lots of ideas and projects in the library, and I would like to share some highlighted with you here. The one of them is the Sustainable Corner. The library in its all 6 campuses has established a sustainable corner with a recycle shelf and with book and board games collection on sustainability. This is a kind of community awareness and engagement on climate change, resilience, environmental impact, and a sustainable future. And also students can use this place and this collection to familiarize themselves with the sustainability and develop their knowledge and understanding. Also, we have created a particular LibGuide on sustainability to curate knowledge, share information, and showcasing any form of materials about sustainability. In one of our campuses where I'm in charge, we are working on a new initiative as a pilot in collaboration with the different institutes across campus. We call it Green Corner. The library's Green Corner is a platform for students and staff at campus where sustainable ideas are formed, plans put together, and projects initiated, all with the aim of making the campus more sustainable and green. We also raise awareness among students and staff about the university's sustainable results and ambitions. I tried just to jump in some slides. We have lots of projects doing under this Green Corner that at the moment, because of the lack of time, I'm just jumping, skipping, but you're gonna take this presentation on these slides afterwards, I think. The one more important thing that I would like to share with you is about the library SDG certification. The UN 70 goals show how countries can approach the largest global environmental and human challenges together and achieve a more sustainable development towards 2030. Denmark is among the best in the world, and to implement the goals. But if all goals must be reached in the right time, the organization must lead the way and work together, as Roxana has mentioned that. So in this regard, CORA 2030 Foundation was established in 2014 with financial support from 2 big foundations in Denmark. And the purpose was to promote the sustainable society in Denmark by converting and disseminating knowledge and thinking into action. And then by help from CORA to 2030, the library SDG certification has been developed in collaboration with the Danish Library Association and 20 libraries in Denmark as a pilot. The library SDG certification is a common framework for the libraries and covers the organizational, operational, and citizen-oriented work for the libraries regarding SDG. At the moment, some libraries, which are all of them public library, they have certified and they have worked on this certification, and they took this certification. They were eligible for taking that with action plan that they made it. And our library is the only research library that we apply for this certification. And we are working hard on that to take this certification and be eligible for that. And last, about the citizen science. I'm quite sure you all have heard about citizen science. In general, citizen science is often used for data collection and mapping of nature area, but citizen science is more than that. Our university has established Citizen Science Knowledge Center, which is hosted by the library and directed by Deputy Library Director in collaborating with different faculties, Danish Institute for Advanced Study, and also Research and Innovation Organization. And the general, the overall goals for this center is to bring citizens closer to science and scientists closer to society, to broker knowledge sharing about the citizen science internally and externally, and to open the research process for all citizens across all levels of the education and social groups through communication, education, and learning. And also there are lots of projects doing by this Citizen Science Knowledge Center that I brought here something, and you will follow some of those through the link that I may mention in the slides. So I think I'm done for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Najme. That was a comprehensive overview of many different things pertaining to the SDGs. So we're now open. We have about an academic quarter left here for questions for the Q&A. I was wondering if Kayla is summing up these points. Yeah.
Hi, Bertel. Yes, Hi, Bertel. Yes, I have summarized the important points. Would it be okay if I close? Okay. One thing that really stood out to me was when Roxanne said that libraries are the powerhouse of the emerging economy. It's quite remarkable to hear how Southern Denmark University and the Australian National University embody this statement. Advocating within institutions to develop open access policies and roadmaps is critical to ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education. And with Australian libraries adopting open access so that all Australians may access science, and with Southern Denmark University also having the Citizen Science and Knowledge Center, it opens up research, and I thought that was quite remarkable. I also liked Southern Denmark's creation of the tiny sustainable shelves with books on climate change and other environmental concerns, as it speaks to multiple SDGs at once. The creation of a sustainability committee to develop and create awareness on sustainability and further educate communities is amazing for sharing and disseminating that kind of knowledge. What I also thought was very crucial was how the Australian National University adopted open access and enhanced the Indigenous knowledge. It's always, it serves as a great social justice approach to enhancing the voices and the stories and histories of those most disadvantaged, and we can only benefit from that. I do feel that the UN's 2030 agenda is a universal call to end poverty and protect the planet, and both libraries exhibit stellar initiatives and services that, if adopted worldwide, could really create huge differences and propel this agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the summary.
Yeah. We could go on to the Q&A now. Thanks.
Yes. So we had about 14, I think, entries in the Q&A, and some of them have, according to the system, already been answered. Thank you, Roxanne, for taking part in that. Well, we have a couple of open questions as well. There's a question for Naishme from Arjun Sanyal. Can green literacy be included within the citizen science agenda of libraries for better implementation of SDGs within the library agenda? I think the question is open both to Naishme, but maybe Roxanne also like to talk about that. So Naishme, do you have a?
Yes, actually, we have a project under the citizen science project that we have, and our colleagues working on that about the digital literacy, not green literacy, but digital literacy. And also some project that they work with the high school students working on to make them aware of the impact of the grand transition on their personal lives and also their education. I think this is a part of the citizen science, and I think that it really fits under that. Yeah.
Roxanne, do you have any reflections on that?
So what that's led me to reflect on in a different way is the project that I think you were involved with for the International Alliance of Research Universities on the Green Library. And that was a great project that looked at a range of different activities that libraries were doing in that group that were promoting green. But we didn't go to the issue of green literacy. And I think we'll be meeting next year. I would thank you so much for making that comment, because what I'm going to do is take that away and put it on the agenda for our next meeting to see if we can build on that report to create some more ways of building green literacy in our communities. So thank you.
Thanks. We have a couple of questions more. We have a question from Rosina Ramagola, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, probably not. The question is, which SDGs does your library support or target? That's a question for Naishme.
From the library side, because we have the Citizen Science Knowledge Center, and it covers many of that, because we work on the climate, we work on the innovation, and we work on the gender equality and diversity and inclusion. So it covers the lots of SDGs goals.
Thank you, Naishme. That's another question from Winston Roberts. I'll read it. Are you in contact with your government to ensure that they know what you're doing and can include it in the Danish Volunteer National Review of Progress towards the SDGs? Could ask the same question for the Australians, but now, Naishme.
Exactly. I think this is a really good question and just give us lots of food for minds what to do. But in general, yes, of course, the universities are working together and they are collaborating in some part of the SDG sustainability, not all, but some absolutely. And also, according to this SDG certification for the library as well, we are working nationally with the other university libraries, with the other public libraries, and also with the Library Association in Denmark. Yeah.
Thank you. We have about 5 minutes more, but there's a couple of questions. I think I accidentally skipped the first question from Safar Khan, who writes that as a librarian at a university, we are using ebook platform, vital source for our textbooks. This has tremendously improved our sustainability goals, and slowly but steadily students have coped up well and are now comfortable using ebooks. We also implemented various environmental friendly initiatives, such as having LED lights in our campus, including libraries, sustainable furniture, and so on. What are things libraries can do to become more sustainable? Safar writes, and I think that's a general question for both Roxanne and Najmi.
Roxanne, do you want to go ahead first? And then I have some answer.
So congratulations, they're absolutely brilliant initiatives. Interestingly, when we're looking at sustainability within the biggest costs that we are seeking to address, not financial costs, but sustainability costs, is around transport. So you talked about using Vital Source, so ebooks that connect students without having to have them travel to the campus, and without us having to send them on expensive aeroplanes if people are abroad, is actually a dramatic way of decreasing the carbon footprint of a university. And we haven't measured that in libraries yet. So I think you are right on the money there. And sustainability really, I think, is going to be something that we will look at and apply that lens to all of the services that we're using. But again, the digital environment, reaching out openly so that people can benefit from the knowledge of our university, and particularly the work on Indigenous knowledge, I think, are the major factors that are important. But yes, thank you. All the participants are making me think deeply.
So I think we have only a couple of minutes more left, but their questions are coming in. So I don't know what we do about that, but I think we have maybe time for one more. And if I just go along the list here, that's for you, Roxanne, also. How do SDGs contribute towards rankings?
Yes, so my slide set, when you see it, and I will write this up as an article for the IFLA Journal as well, has some links so that you can actually go in and have a look at how they are measured. And they have taken two very different approaches, and they are different to the normal ranking. So it's a different sustainability index, and your university needs to sign up to participate in them if you would like to do that. And you can actually go on the websites that I put links to have a look at them in detail.
Thank you. So I think that we do not, unfortunately, have time for the remaining questions, but I would encourage the participants, even the ones with questions and the ones without, to contact the presenters on a bilateral level to engage in dialogue among these things. I think that, as I know the presenters, they are open towards this. So that's just a recommendation from here. And then I'd like, again, to thank the organizers. I'd like to thank Kayla and the others who have made this possible. I'd like to thank also, of course, IFLA, our ARL group for making this possible, and Najmi and Roxanne for being willing to share their experience and ideas here. So thank you very much all, and thank all the participants also for joining us here today at this webinar. So thank you. Have a nice day wherever you are on this little world of ours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you all soon.
Yes. See you soon.
Bye.
Have a
Thanks,
nice
Bertil.
day.
Thank you very much, Bertil.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rashmi. Bye, Roxanne.
Bye.